Hi folks, this is Dr. Rob CYWES. I am the carb addiction doc, and I am in clinical practice as a metabolic health specialist, but I also, as a foundation to metabolic health, focus on nutrition. And when it comes to the transformation of our diet, we can talk about macros all day long, protein, fats, and carbohydrates, but today I want to speak about micronutrients. And there's been a massive transformation in our ability to access micronutrients through our food. Firstly, there is more and more of a societal, financial, and pharma push to get our supplements from our food. And a lot of people on the internet and these big gum flappers scare the crap out of us that we're not getting enough of this vitamin or that vitamin. And they're basically pushing a whole bunch of pills. And to my mind, yes, there is a place for supplementation, but that should be after you're focused on food and only if there's a particular deficit. But supplements aren't going to make you more healthy. All they're going to do is potentially restore health where you got gaps. But if you're getting all your supplements from your food, you don't necessarily need that. The second big shift is that through the hybridization and mismanagement, in my opinion, of the quality of our plant food, plants have radically, and even in my lifetime, but over the last 100 or 200 years, reduced the amount of minerals, vitamins, and trace elements, the micronutrients that are available to us through plants. So unfortunately, at this stage in our environment, the way I think is that most commercially produced and bought and sold plants, the magnitude of plant product that you have to eat to get adequate nutrients in is just uneatable. So the way I look at plants is they're great for diversity. I have no problem with them unless you have a problem with them. But plants are kind of like a glass of wine. They're enjoyable, but they're not necessary for nutrition. Ooh, radical statement, but that's okay. So as a physician, when I look at bang for buck in terms of nutrients from food, hi folks, this is Dr. Rob CYWES. I am the carb addiction doc. And actually, surprisingly and somewhat unfortunately, I'm not imbibing as much as I used to, but this is the holiday season. Happy Thanksgiving for those folks out there. However, from time to time, and I'll be staying on a wine farm for a little while in the next few weeks, from time to time, we do party up a little bit too much. And the next morning can be really, really rough. One of the things that I found, and I kind of stumbled upon this vicariously, is the next morning if I'm struggling a little bit because I stayed awake too long, let's put it that way. One of these babies, Ketone IQ with some caffeine in it, is one of the best hangover remedies the next morning. Now make sure you protect your stomach lining, but it's a really, really good product to have available if you're dragging the next morning, if you've got to go to work. Hit one of these. Try it and see. It makes a big difference. I often take it with my coffee in the morning and it helps me through the next day. Try it and let me know. There's discount codes down below. There really are four. There are four classes of food that are all animal-based that provide adequate nutrition. And as long as you're getting two of the four in, you're good. And the four are very simply eggs, whole eggs, not this part of the egg, whole eggs, dairy, it could be cheese, it can be milk. Small fish, where you're eating the whole fish or the shellfish. So your sardines, your oysters, your clams, where you're eating most or all of the whole animal. Not just the muscles of fish, but the whole animal. And the final one is liver. And those are the four micronutrient-rich foods that can be used as a condiment to our food. And I'm going to start with the last one. I'm going to start with liver. Liver, the center of our metabolic system is our liver. And therefore, the liver is jam-packed in the right proportion with the majority of micronutrients that we need for metabolism. Maybe not just for the rest of our body, but for the metabolic system, liver is incredibly useful. But most people have forgotten how to enjoy liver. So in honor of my mother, who's turned 90, who's got bad Alzheimer's, I'm going to read the recipe that we use at home and my mother's recipe that she got from her mother for liver pate. And the beauty about liver pate is it tastes really good, but you can use it because it's so concentrated. You can use it as a condiment with anything that you eat. So we usually have a bowl of this liver pate in our fridge, and all four of us, even though my wife hates liver, we will occasionally eat this as a condiment on our food. My son will put it on chicharrones and eat those. like some people put peanut butter on there, he puts it on there. I use it as a condiment with my food, or you can blend it in. You can even add some cream cheese to it to blend it in. But it's very useful. And I get asked this a lot by folks. So here's the chicken pate recipe. And she typically uses chicken liver, my mom used to, but you can use any good liver. So you want 225 grams of chicken livers. 225 grams of chicken livers, 1 clove of garlic. Now here's the interesting one. You don't have to use this one, but 12.5 milliliters of brandy, 1 small onion, 75 grams of butter, and 1 hard-boiled egg. And you cook the liver in a pan. You add the onions and butter. You cook the onions, butter, and liver in a pan. Then you put them in a liquidizer or a blender. You add the brandy. You add salt. You add pepper, and you add the egg, and you blend, and you refrigerate. And we refrigerate ours in small little bowls that we can put on the table, and it is an excellent condiment. So this is my mother, Marlene CYWES. This is Marlene's recipe, inherited from previous generations, but this is her liver pate recipe. And so don't think I don't give you practical advice, but that liver recipe is excellent. And if you want to, as I said, add cream cheese to that, add cheese to it, add more egg to it, now you're getting 2 or 3 of your supplement foods. And it works so well. Now, I even tried a while ago and I blended sardines in the same way and it worked out pretty well. So, and you can change up, you don't have to add alcohol to it, we do. But a great way to get condiments in. And what I'd like you to do, if you've got a favorite recipe, if you've got a novel way of preparing something, one of those 4 things, throw it out here, share it with us. This is a community of education, of sharing information. And if you've got other recipes for your liver, let me know. But I want to make food palatable to Americans who only eat hamburgers or only eat Big Macs. And if we create and are savoring these foods, and I'm no culinary expert, then we're enhancing the consumption of micronutrient foods for us, for our kids. And if you've got a new baby and you start at about 4 or 5 months age and you give them a little bit of that food, it's soft, the texture is wonderful. And those kids get used to it like my son did from the age of 4 or 5 months. He loves that food now. Why? Because he's always had it. Tougher to introduce when they're older, but if you start as a young kid, it becomes something that is just part of their wheelhouse. So think about the future of your children, incorporate that in our food. And there are other varieties of ways we can do this with eggs, with cheese, with dairy, whatever it is. Leave comments. But the ideal micronutrients come from your food. And guess what? We use no supplements. Well, I use fish oil. And I've now started using iodine because we use Redmond salt that doesn't contain iodine. I am the Carb Addiction Doc. Please leave comments. If you value this, if you enjoy this, try it and leave me comments after you've tried the recipe. But throw us a buck at our PayPal account. Throw us a buck at our Patreon account. You'll see the addresses in the show notes. I'll leave the recipe in the show notes too.